Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast or media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Lucky Eevee, Mathmachine, Jordan, Shark, Stryker, and our special guest this week is Isaor. Today is
Isaor.
our Isaor. Isaor. Today is our 72nd episode, and we're discussing the 1998 Pokemon episode, Mystery at the Lighthouse. So, let's get things started. Now, as I'm
I
sure
wanna
everybody
be
knows...
the very best, like no one
No
ever was.
one ever was.
yeah, we
Yep.
gotta start like that. Forgive me. But yeah, as pretty much anyone who is listening to this knows, Pokemon is a gigantic franchise, and it was always a huge hit, like right from the get-go. It wasn't something that, it took time to build up an audience, something like that. No, Pokemon was a smash hit from like the word, from the word go. It really, just took off in popularity, and of course, the anime coincided with the games, and they both were equally gigantic. And
Yeah, and I think this was based off of freaking Earthbound Zero, as it would be called in America for the most part, down to Mewtwo
Interesting.
being somewhat similar to Gygus.
Very
And then it would
interesting.
get start as a Pokemon card game, funnily
Huh.
enough.
Yep, I did not consider that, but the episode we're talking about in particular comes from the first season, which is called the Indigo League, and
Yep.
a little bit of a tangent, but the Indigo League has different sets of episodes depending on where you look on them. Some episodes, it's the entirety of the Kanto region season. Some places you look at, it actually only goes up to episode 52. So if you want to watch along, this episode you're probably fine with, but for like later ones, you're probably gonna have to do some searching in other places. It's a weird change, and I don't know why they did that.
Mm,
Yep.
pretty
But,
weird.
one thing that's interesting though is that how going back to the first season of the show, how much different it is compared to how the show would later become, especially in the later seasons. Because this is when they were starting out, and they pretty much had a free range to do whatever the hell they wanted. And this episode in
Yep.
particular goes to some very, very unique places. But of course, the episode begins, as we all know, with the awesome and iconic theme song that really just holds up so well.
Yeah.
Really, the show
Yeah,
as a
not
whole
a
just
single of the songs that came after this season reached the same level of.
no.
I mean,
no,
there were some that definitely got close, but
they had
yeah.
some good ones, but this is an iconic one for a reason.
Uh-huh.
You can very easily see just why this one was such an iconic theme song. So yeah, the episode itself begins with a familiar scene as Ash, Brock, and Misty are lost in the forest. And one thing that's interesting, the narrator actually mentions this, even though this episode of the show, it's not even 20 episodes in to the show, and already the narrator is pointing out that they're in a forest yet again. It's kind of interesting that they would do that.
There's
Yeah.
a fun bit where when the narrator said that they lost, Pikachu looks at the camera and shrugs.
Eka. Yeah, it's like Link looking at the camera after Tattle freaking speaks her mouth off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always love it when they did that, especially again with the first season, it being so different compared to what came afterwards.
Also, this is
Yeah.
the good old days of Chonkachu.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
Pikachu's
Although
still somewhat chunky, but yeah.
nothing like he was
But
back then. Absolutely nothing
He
like
was
he was
also
back
a
then.
huge jerk back then.
Oh, he
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
was.
This
I
was
mean, not just in the
before
first
their
episode
bond.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, their
Throughout the whole
bond
first
really
season.
came a long way afterwards.
Yep.
Man.
So, what's also interesting is they do a thing with the stylized background here, where they're walking along. It becomes like a series of like a grids or that. Something that the anime I don't think would do so often after this. So it's interesting to see that. And the
Also,
narrator-
they show, I think, some of the badges.
Yep, the narrator brings up that by this time Ash has won his first 2 badges, and he brags about it. Misty mentions that Ash didn't earn his badges, which really is actually kind of true when you think about it, because Brock just gave him the first one, and the second one, the battle wasn't completed because Team Rocket invaded. So he
That's
technically-
true.
Yeah.
And then he would later get one out of mercy from Celadon City. God, I hated
Yep.
that episode.
Yeah. Although
But
it did give us
anyways.
Pikachu doing with the watering
And the other
can, which
one
is
from
adorable.
Lost making Sabrina laugh, if I remember correctly.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't beat
That was
Sabrina
a
either.
really good episode.
It was.
Yeah.
Really, and again, we'll get more on this
Yeah,
later,
the
but it's really
only
interesting.
badges Ash really earned was Surges, Kogas, and Blings. And also the
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and Giovanni technically.
Giovanni.
Even though it wasn't him, it was Jesse James and Meowth because he was busy with his Mewtwo. But yep, that's what happened. But yeah, getting back to this one, it's interesting that basically the narrator breaks the fourth wall yet again as he agrees with Brock that despite what happens, Ash still has the first two badges as well as 6 Pokemon. And of course, Ash names them, which are Pidgeotto, Butterfree, Squirtle, Charmander, Bulbasaur, and of course, Pikachu. Now, one interesting thing, and again, it's just a little tangent here because it's not really part of this episode, but it's something that's funny. Charmander's voice actor, apparently he thought that the voice was meant to be temporary because if you watch the show, he has a very squeaky, high-pitched voice. He apparently thought Charmander was going to be a one-off character. He didn't know he was going to have to voice him for 30-plus episodes with that voice.
Yeah. And this was back before he evolved into Charmeleon or
Yeah.
Charizard.
That's actually the cutoff point for the end of the first season in some locations, episode 52. But getting back to this, Misty then claims that Ash didn't catch them either, but he did catch Pidgey and Caterpie, so, that's kind of
Me too,
wrong thing right there.
Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. Shut your
he technically
frickin'
was
mouth,
scaring them,
Misty.
but yeah, true. Brock then brings up that most trainers catch 20 to 30 Pokemon, which seems like a low number to me, but maybe it wasn't back in the 151 days. As Misty notes that he had to help them. Basically, Ash is determined to prove them wrong, and then we get, of course, the iconic title cards of the episode, which really bring back, nostalgic memories in there.
Oh man, that theme for the title cards was amazing.
Always.
Yeah. It's always like, it
Yeah,
feels
and I
so
like how
epic,
they had the badges too in some seasons.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, they in the first literal episode of some seasons they bring that back and it's amazing.
Yep. But after the title card, we cut to Ash running out of the woods and finding himself on the beach. And one thing that's interesting, it probably was like this later on, but maybe to a lesser extent, the narrator is sometimes Captain Obvious levels of telling us what's going on because he says, Ash ran out of the woods and then he found himself on a beach with a beautiful sunset. And it's like, yeah, but we could just see that. I mean...
Ash found himself in an alley, surrounded by a bunch of smugglers and gangsters. Oh no, he is now getting beaten up and shanked.
Oh god, that definitely would be interesting.
Sorry, a little dark humor.
Okay.
Oh my
it's
goodness.
It's all right.
It's
If
almost
only
like...
was the narrator from Dave the Barbarian.
That would be way better.
Oh
Way
my
better
goodness, that
crossover.
would have been better. It's
Or the
almost like-
narrator
crossover.
possibly from freaking Powerpuff Girls.
That too. A lot of good or the French
Like,
narrator too.
fucking
Yep.
Yeah.
narrator in
French narrator.
Pokemon at times is almost like the fucking narrator from Peppa Pig.
Oh
Yeah,
god,
not that
don't
bad, not
remind
that
me.
bad, but yeah, it can be pretty obvious. But Ash is disappointed, wanting to find some Pokemon, and he gets his wish upon seeing a small crab. Sadly, this crab is not Mr. Krabs, though that would have been awesome. Hello,
Oh man, imagine
I
they
like
actually
Muddy.
did name him Mr. Crab.
Hello,
Like
I like
money.
Muddy.
Funny.
I inspire you
Hello,
to get caught by a
like
Pokemon
Muddy.
trainer.
I
Muddy.
mean, I'm pretty sure
Money.
like at least 500 people named their tribe Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we're 501 in that case. But Ash consults the Pokedex as the crab turns out to be Krabby, who really just absolutely adorable in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
He's a
freaking
cute
noise
little
is
boy, you know.
amazing. Also,
that too.
Dexter, hi.
Yep. But Ash, of course, is determined to catch Krabby, and we really get one thing that I feel Pokemon the anime gets slept on a lot. It could have some beautiful shots when it wanted to, because we get a really cool shot of Ash running towards Krabby as the sun sets behind them, all in shadow, and it looks really, really cool.
Hell yeah.
Yep. Ash basically catches Krabby by not using any Pokemon, but instead he uses a stick to basically prod Krabby. Then he throws his Pokeball. But it turns out Krabby is caught by Ash, so the Pokemon glows and vanishes. And it turns out that, like the game, a trainer can only have 6 Pokemon in their party at the time, and the rest get transported. But unlike the games, where they're stored on, the PC, which we'll find out who's PC in a little bit, here they go to wherever a trainer gets their Pokedex. And for Ash, that means it goes back to Professor Oak. And we get a flashback of him and Ash getting shocked by Pikachu, which, is interesting.
Probably
Yeah,
his
cut-
favorite memories of him.
Yeah.
His favorite
I guess-
memories of Pikachu.
Yeah.
Pikachu back
Pikachu was
then
a
was a
little-
massiff masochist.
Yeah,
People
he
might
was a little
mistake
jerk.
me for some kind of a masochist. The words of Markiplier echo in your head.
But he definitely
I mean,
was
it's been 13 episodes. This happened so long ago. I'm pretty sure everyone forgot who Professor Oak even was.
yeah. But then again, the anime was just starting out, so a lot was probably trying to get the groove in. But what happened is Ash is worried about Krabby and wants to make sure he's okay. Misty just wants to sleep in a proper bed, and Brock mentions that there's no phones anywhere. As basically all three of them are complaining about their situation, Pikachu hops up and down in excitement, and Pikachu really he's adorable. I'm sorry, they really are. Ikio Otani does such a great job. Like right from the early episodes, she got Pikachu down perfectly, even this early on.
To think she would later go on to voice Tony Chopper from One Piece.
And Apple Bloom.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep, Japanese voice of Apple Bloom from Friendship is Magic. But
Nice.
what happens is Ash claims he can contact Professor Oak. Misty is excited about having a real bed for a change, and Brock just wants to find out where they are. We then
Also food.
That too. We then cut to the trio making it to the lighthouse at night as they see various carvings of Pokemon on the wall. Ash rings the bell as a voice comes through on the other end. Ash and Misty claim that they're lost, and Brock offers to make some hamburgers for the owner of the lighthouse, who is happy to eat something that isn't tofu, which it really feels like this is like a westernization of the show. It's like how Phoenix Wright is totally not in Japan; it is in America.
San Francisco. Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Something jelly donuts. Something.
Fun fact.
That's also that.
Fun fact I just remembered.
Yeah.
Inexplicably, there was a carving of Mewtwo on the door. Even though at this point, no one knows Mewtwo exists.
I feel like this is a time period where they weren't really planning the show ahead of time. It was like, let's just do whatever we want to do without any sort of rhyme or reason. But yeah, you're right. Mewtwo does show up as one of the carvings on the door, which is very interesting. And again, I think it was because they didn't plan out that Mewtwo is going to be a big secret to the show's creators at the time. So it might have been just another Pokemon that they had to put in an episode.
Yeah, and honestly, it works. Like, you can imagine Bill as a sort of like Pokemon fanatic, like would see Mewtwo and is like, "Oh goodness, another Pokemon!" And like that's kind of a theme of this episode and of his, if you really think about it.
There's a comment at the end of the episode that becomes funnier the more Pokemon's game come out.
Oh yeah, and we will definitely get to it. But for now,
don't forget about the carvings of Arcanine in the first episode.
True. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's because Arcanine was supposed to be a legendary at some point.
I can see that, but yeah, getting back to this episode, what happens is they basically go in to see an eerie interior. Ash is looking for a phone as the unseen voice tells them it's right there. He sees a video phone with a bell sprout receiver, which is a really cute touch. And he calls Professor Oak, who it turns out is also eating tofu because I guess his cook is on vacation too.
Oh man, dude! Like I heard that, and I was like, "Do you both not know how to take care of yourselves culinary-wise? Like, what the fuck?"
I guess not.
Oh man!
The phone makes me think of the talking flower from Mario 1.
Feel like you're missing something. Yeah. Also, that video phone, I kind of want that to be a thing IRL because not only can you call them, you can also talk to them face to face from the screen.
It's so ironic. Everyone predicted video phones in like the 50s and 60s, and we technically have them. We have them like even with Discord, but it's not like an actual phone. It's like with the internet, which almost no one predicted. So,
oh man,
a little thing there.
I mean, video phones like that do exist.
True.
Oh really?
Yeah, here's a picture one.
Cool.
Oh,
that's neat. Yeah. For those of you who can't see,
that is awesome.
This is an audio-only podcast. What he showed was a picture of a video phone from like the late 80s, early 90s. It looks like.
Oh
yeah,
god,
what happened?
That. It's all $36 too, cheap.
Yep. So basically,
Yeah, only $36 USD.
Nice.
basically, what happens is Ash gets frightened that Oak is eating Krabby, but Oak reveals he's fine. Oak
Oh.
then mentions that Ash's Krabby is much smaller than Gary's, and we get a cute little moment where it cuts to them, and Ash's Krabby is literally like a third of Gary's. Even though
Yeah.
Ash's Krabby would later evolve to become Kingler, an absolute beast, but that's for a
Yeah.
later
Also,
episode.
it reminds me that like Pokemon is like Ash and Gary literally had their whole freaking dick measuring contest thing going
this was
on
at the
until
time when that was a
season 2.
big part of the show. That was still a huge part of the show back in the Indigo League season.
Yep.
But Oak asks where Ash is calling from as he mentions the lighthouse. Oak tells him that it's Bill's lighthouse and he is a Pokemon researcher, which is a little bit
And
different.
furry.
Yep. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But basically, in the games, Bill is the one who creates the PC storage system that is used to store Pokemon when you catch more than 6 in a team. You're in the red, blue, and yellow games. Your Pokemon would go to Bill's PC, and later games would have it be like someone else's PC. But
Yeah, it would be the regional manager, kind of.
basically, yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's also interesting, like, in any and all iterations, Bill is just straight up a fucking Pokemon furry. Like, he literally becomes a Pokemon. And this was before Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second. But for now, what happens is Bill talks to Professor Oak, and Bill is actually voiced by Maddie Blaustein, who's probably best known for also her role in Pokemon, where she voiced Meowth, and she was an absolute complete legend. She was a fantastic voice actress. She did like dozens of voices. She was Chef Kawasaki in the Kirby Right Back At You anime.
Oh.
And yeah, in general, she did so much of that. But we will talk a little bit about her and Meowth in a little bit because there is something interesting with it. But for now, the lights turn on in the mansion as they reveal Bill, who appears to be a gigantic Kabuto that rubs its claws menacingly as the show fades to black. And when I first saw this episode as a kid, this absolutely fooled me. I am actually ashamed to admit this. I actually thought that Bill was some kind of giant mutant Pokemon thing.
God, I can imagine how that would definitely be a surprise. How that can fool you. Also, this would normally be where the Who's That Pokemon segment happens.
Yep. But I feel like they removed a lot of that in, I believe, syndication and in other markets. So I don't know if it really exists in other versions. But we then cut to the exterior of the lighthouse as Team Rocket is looking at it, and they plan on breaking in and stealing all the Pokemon. And this is right back when Team Rocket was legitimately a threat. They weren't total, complete idiots yet. They actually were the main villains of the show, which this dynamic would change really quickly. You know, like, I think maybe by episode 30, 35, they were complete jokes, you know? But this was, I think, the tail end of them being legitimately menacing.
I believe it was the introduction of Giovanni's Persian that was the turning point.
Probably, yeah. That, I think, was the first one, was the episode with the SSN was the turning point, with James blowing all their money on the Magikarp, and various hilarity ensues.
And Boreal at sea, too.
Yep.
I mean, X and Y, they get back to being a threat pretty often.
Fair enough.
True. But it would be a very long time after this, basically. Jesse mentions that they could either take the road or climb up the mountain. Meowth claims that they have to climb up the mountain because that's what bad guys do. Forgive me for not doing a Meowth impression. But one thing to note, one thing to notice, though, Meowth's voice is a lot deeper here than it would be later on. I don't know if Maddie Blaustein had taken over yet, because I do believe Meowth might have had a different voice actor from episode 2 up until I'm not sure when. But
Hold on, I'll check.
I don't think that's Maddie Blaustein voicing Meowth in this episode. And it's interesting how they would change her voice, because she became so iconic with it. You can't think of Meowth without thinking of Maddie Blaustein's performance for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Hold on, what episode is this?
Episode
Mystery of the
13.
Lighthouse. Mystery of the Lighthouse.
Okay, it looks like Nathan Price was the voice actor this time.
I see. So it wasn't
that
Maddie
definitely
Blaustein by this
explains
point. Yeah, that explains why a deeper, different take on Meowth. But even though Team
Blaustein would be from 30 to like a bit of ways into Gen 3.
Yeah, and when the voice acting change happened.
Yeah. Also, I think the Team Rocket VAs of like the Gen 1, 2, and 3 animes would also go on to do freaking Fossil Fighters or King of Dinosaurs.
I believe they would. It definitely sounds plausible. But one thing to notice too is that Team Rocket then say their iconic motto in a pretty unique style this time, which is interesting. They were changing it up as early as episode 13. Jesse and James note that they had to do the hard way to be hardened criminals, then mention it'll be difficult. And there's a funny comedic timing where it turns out they're afraid of heights. But then you got to stop and think, wait, you guys have a hot air balloon you travel in all the time.
Yeah, how are you guys afraid of heights if you do that sort of shit on the freaking 9 to 5 grind? Like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
They never thought about it until now.
Yeah.
Same. But back in the
Guess I got over that quick because later on,
they just ride there with no problems whatsoever.
Yep.
But back in the Lighthouse, Brock notes that Kabuto are supposed to be extinct and doesn't know what one's doing there. Of course, the Kabuto turns out to be Bill, stuck in a costume, as he asks for the help getting it off.
And this would be before the episode where they just uncover an entire island made of them.
Yeah,
an entire fossils. Yeah.
Like I said,
and that would be the one where.
Oh, sorry.
It would be the one where Charizard would come to be, and it doesn't get better for him later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the distant future. But for now, one interesting thing about this is a kind of reference to something that happens in the games. In the Pokemon Gen 1 games, there's a part where Bill turns himself into a Pokemon, which kind of looks like Clefairy, thanks to the limited sprites they had for Gen 1.
Yeah.
With a teleportation machine, and the player has to help him get back to normal. Now,
it's a reference to the Fly.
Yeah, in a kid's game. But Pikachu's expression during this part in the Pokemon Yellow version is absolutely hilarious. Both when he sees Bill and when he sees the transformation machine turning him back to normal. Just his shocked expression is so hilarious.
They played with the Nidorino with them.
Sorry, and Let's Go, they reference it?
Yeah, they were making.
And Let's Go, the Clefairy was pushed to the Nidorino for some reason.
Yeah, they also did the same with freaking. I think they did the same with Fire Red and Leaf Green, though. Don't quote me on that.
No, Fire Red and Leaf was also Clefairy.
Yeah, it was. I remember that from Fire Red. Yeah, they used the same sprite. But what happens is, it turns out here that it was a costume, and Bill is freed from his costume as you see his appearance. For some reason, the anime gave him green hair compared to his usual brown hair, and he wears much more elaborate clothing compared to his attire, which is just like a shirt and jeans. This was
Professor Oak and Bill are both upstanding members of civilization, and yet they can't even freaking cook to save their lives.
Exactly.
Outside of tofu.
And this is back when the anime did whatever the hell it wanted. Game accuracy be damned. Like, if they wanted to have Bill with green hair, they could have Bill with green hair. Later on, of course, they would later clamp down on this and make them be, not 1-to-1 with the games, but a lot less deviations than you could have during this time period.
Indeed.
Yep. Bill mentions that he wore the costume to try and focus on what a Pokemon truly feels like. He then turns to a wall that shows a mural of the extinct Pokemon and mentions that there's over 150 of them, which is a huge, huge understatement. He mentions that there are possibly many more to find and discover, and you're right, Bill. There are many, 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 many more to discover. Like,
these are the only ones in which the news has come to heart.
Times 50.
It's now 125 Pokemon.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, 1,020. Yeah, 1,025. And I'm gonna patch you one.
Wow.
Yep.
But Bill then mentions that everyone has a meaning and a purpose, Pokemon and humans included. We then cut to Team Rocket attempting to scale the mountain as they complain how difficult it is. And then we cut back to the interior of the mansion as Bill mentions that he is searching for one Pokemon larger than all the rest. Unfortunately, he is not looking for Dynamax Pikachu, the big, thick boy.
Because Dynamax did not exist yet.
Nope.
Unfortunately.
But one thing that's interesting is the turn that this episode takes, because this is not just an episode of Pokemon. Oh no. This is
an adaptation of a Wade Bradbury story for some reason.
Yep, you beat me to it. It's called The Foghorn. The story itself is about a lighthouse keeper and his assistant seeing a giant sea monster approach their lighthouse, and they think that the monster thinks that's the foghorn of the lighthouse is calling out to it. And this is a time when the Pokemon anime could adapt a Ray Bradbury story and actually have it fit within the show. And
Nice.
whether this was actually an authorized adaptation of this, or even if Ray Bradbury knew of this, is unknown, but knowing how much the guy hated television from Fahrenheit 451, it's
As much
highly
as Roald
unlikely.
As much as Roald Dahl did in that case.
Bradbury really did not like TV.
I'll
so
bet.
you probably know about this. But Bill is depicted in shadow here. A really nice artistic touch. Bill notes that the Pokemon is supposedly the only one of its kind. We say supposedly because we'll get to that in a little bit. But he plays a sound recording of the noise the Pokemon makes. He mentions that he wants to be friends with the Pokemon as a giant shadow emerges from the ocean. And this is why we are actually covering this episode, because the Pokemon turns out to be Dragonite. Although it is depicted pretty much as a shadow silhouette version of it, you still see the design. What really is missing is kind of the colors and some of the more finer details, but you definitely can visibly see how appealing Dragonite is. But this is a very interesting thing because Dragonite is a rare Pokemon. I'm not saying it's not, but a lot of it appeared in the show later on. This is treated like it was a legendary Pokemon, and Dragonite definitely is not. I mean, one appeared in Pokemon the first movie. Sadly, that Dragonite has been confirmed male, so we can't talk about that movie, but we can talk about another Dragonite because later on in the show, Ash obtained one, and it turned out to be female, so definitely keep your ears...
And we found that out through event distributions.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, thank goodness for event distributions, because now we get to talk about Ash's Dragonite in a future episode. But this one, for now, considering it's their first appearance, it's a really, really creative one. And again, it's definitely adapting Bradbury's The Foghorn, but it reminds me a little bit of The Beast of 20,000 Fathoms, and also a little bit of the movie Gorgo, believe it or not.
Nice.
We previously mentioned that movie in an
I can see why.
movie Gorgo.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was just more waiting for someone in the anime to go, "Look, it's Gogeta!"
It's Godzilla!
No, that's Tyranitar. Tyranitar is canonically, they base it on Godzilla, I believe.
Technically, there's also this other thing that they based it on, but yeah, it's mostly Godzilla.
Yeah. So the lighthouse is glowing multicolored lights as Brock and Misty notes that the Dragonite is singing, and they dance with each other while Pikachu adorably bobs his head to the music. Even Team Rocket has to appreciate it as how nice it is before Meowth points out that the giant Dragonite is heading towards them. And it's here we get a joke that is actually a double type of joke. It's a joke that we read two ways. Because James says, I guess size really does matter when he sees it. Now you can take that as two ways. One is the obvious double entendre, which, fair. The second one could be a reference to a movie that was coming out at the exact same time this episode aired on TV, the 1998 Godzilla, which used the tagline, size does matter, and it was plastered everywhere. So that could be a joking reference to the 98 Godzilla, which, would not surprise me.
Will be clever.
How ubiquitous it was. Yep. But yeah. Nice. But the English voice actors are iconic for a reason, and they all do an excellent job. I sometimes feel that the 4Kids dub gets a little too much flack because without it, I mean, granted, there were probably better anime dubs, but I feel like at the time it was what was needed. I mean, even with like the stupid changes, like the infamous, jelly donuts and like the hamburgers, stuff like that, I still feel like without it, would anime have been perceived differently in the United States? Europe's a different story because we had stuff like, Heidi and Doraemon and stuff like that. But in the United States, it might have been totally different,
From what I've looked into, other than the weird...
I'm sorry, Math, go ahead.
Other than the weird Americanizations, the 4Kids Pokemon dub, or at least the early parts of it, are generally seen as pretty good.
And I can't blame them because they had great voice actors,
Yeah, they used to have great accent.
Yeah, really, really good stuff.
And like I said, I saw 4Kids gave us Ted Lewis as King Dedede.
Yep, and Escargoon. And they gave us King Dedede and Escargoon. So
There's
without
only one
them,
rule of
we never-
Capitown, and that's me, King DDD.
we never would have gotten cartoon buffoon. So I think we all owe 4Kids gratitude of thanks for that. Because without
Yep.
them, we never would have gotten DDD coming at you. We never would have gotten I Am a Superstar Warrior. We never would have gotten I'll
surely
kick
you
Kirby
yes.
to the curb or any of that wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
their later stuff we wish they hadn't done, like the One Piece rap.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
that-
I like the One Piece rap. Shut
Yeah.
up.
That was because I believe they didn't even want to do it. They had to do it because what happens? They bought shows in bundles, and this is a common
That's
thing back
actually
then.
what happened.
They bought shows in bundles, and they were forced to dub it. It's like you have to do this show if you want to get our other show, and it's like, well, what the hell can we do? They had to throw their hands up and just hope for the best.
All
Yeah.
right, that's
Yeah, but getting back to this show, Jesse then remarks, if Dragonite is such a giant and rare creature, they have to catch it. One thing that's interesting is the characterization that James actually feels ashamed for attacking it, but Jesse and Meowth just brush it off. And then to show how different Team Rocket is in this episode compared to how they would be just a couple of episodes later, they pull out bazookas and then begin firing on the gigantic Dragonite. I mean,
Oh, hell
Team
yeah.
Rocket had an edge if they could actually do this. This is
rocket
like
launcher.
yeah, exactly. Team
Yep.
Rocket launcher, but they actually use real life weapons in that. I mean,
Oh,
Team
hell yeah.
Rocket was
No
they were
guns, no
hardcore.
freaking pistols. That wouldn't be until a Safari Zone. The
Yeah, but
freaking
still,
localized.
they yeah,
This is back when they were allowed to get away with like actual guns in its anime.
yeah. Before
Yeah.
before the Safari Zone episode, infamously.
Yeah,
did
that's
that.
why
Yeah.
that's why an episode just kind of it makes sense
Yeah.
why they stopped doing realistic weaponry.
Yeah,
that,
like
yeah.
after the Safari Zone, they really kind of toned down the edge a lot. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
which is a shame, but it makes sense. I mean, we definitely got stuff like the freaking photosensitive epilepsy, the most notorious of Pokemon episodes. So,
Which
Porygon,
Porygon has been released from Purgatory.
Oh, yes?
Finally took him that long.
Yeah, the entire line's been released in Purgatory. They showed up in Hawaiian's episode.
nice.
So yeah, what happens next with the episode basically is Dragonite wails in pain for being attacked, and she smashed at the top of the lighthouse. Unfortunately, Dragonite is not in the movie The Lighthouse, even though that would make that movie an improvement.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, but if Dragonite was in it, it would be 1,000 times better. So the foursome make it out before the lighthouse is destroyed, and Bill stands directly in front of the Dragonite, and he begs for her to stay so he could learn from her. The Dragonite says, "Yep, I want to be your friend." And again, Maddie Blaustein does a really good job with Bill. Yeah, showing the heartbreak that this guy is going through, because he's finally found this creature after looking for it for so long, and it just up and leaves him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair given how she got freaking blasted by Team Rocket, a la freaking Halo, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But what happens is the Dragonite then shakes her head as Team Rocket continues to attack it. And again, the weird thing that is so fascinating to me is James thinks it's wrong. Like he's the only one that is actually ambivalent about them doing evil things like that, whereas Jesse and Meowth are A-okay with it.
Yep.
I say this characterization also really wouldn't stick, and it's interesting, like the concepts they had for this, that they would just like drop. Like it was be never brought up again that, you know, James was the one who like didn't want to go too far. He wanted to be a part of Team Rocket, he wanted to be evil, but he didn't want to cross a certain line, which he still had, but not to this extent.
Yeah, I mean, given his upbringing, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense.
That's kind of stays on the side that James seems to be the one that is Pokemon.
Yeah, like
that too.
he
That's another
makes
Yeah,
he makes
James has never really caught any of it, but when he befriended them.
That is very, very true. Or in the case of Magikarp, he bought it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
He got hooked into a pyramid scheme. That's how he freaking got that Pokemon.
True. So what
Oh
happens
gosh.
is Team Rocket continued to attack Dragonite before she swipes her tail at them, causing them, of course, to blast off again, but without the little star twinkle this time, which interesting change right there. But the
Yep.
Dragonite basically returns back to the sea forlornly, and again, this is taken directly from the Bradbury story. Like pretty much this entire section, this ending middle portion of the episode, is the exact adaptation of a Ray Bradbury story, which again, really interesting stuff that they would do that. And of
Yep.
course, we cut to the next day as Ash Bill what it could have been, but it turns out even Bill is stumped. In another interesting change, we cut back to Team Rocket as they also wonder what the Pokemon was, and they decide to just keep on doing evil deeds as they laugh.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, we would not get that kind of thing from Team Rocket. Like once they blasted off again, we would probably occasionally get a comedy scene of them or them getting their comeuppance or something that they did throughout the episode. But no, in this one, they drove away the Dragonite. They didn't catch it, but they didn't make it stay either. And yeah, they kind of won this one, which again, early Pokemon, very, very different from the show would become.
Dang.
Yep. Ash, Misty, and Brock make efforts to keep on what they have learned from this episode, while Bill decides to stay and wait for the Dragonite to return. And it's here we get the moment that Shark mentioned earlier, where Ash asks Bill how many Pokemon there are, as Bill says there's no limit to the number. And, of course, he's right. There isn't a limit to how many Pokemon
No,
there
there is
are.
not. There is no limit.
Definitely not.
He,
But it
he
turns-
says
series
we
gets
know
canceled.
about 150.
Well, there's a lot more than that, as we previously mentioned, but Bill basically tells
what makes
Ash
it
that they
funnier
share the
is
same
that-
goals. I'm sorry, go
What makes that funnier is that the other Pokemon are not even hidden or legendary. You go to another region and they're a pet, literally, or you see them on the street. So Bill has
Exactly.
never
Yeah.
been out of his country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like to be fair, this is the same person who trapped himself in a suit and only ate freaking tofu while his cook was freaking away.
Nice.
Well, fair.
Yep. Definitely an interesting thing. But what happens is basically Bill tells Ash that they share the same goals, despite him being a Pokemon researcher and Ash being a Pokemon trainer. The episode has the iconic ending music that really always brings such a good feeling. You know, it
Yeah.
feels like such a grandiose conclusion. Even at like the filler episodes when they would play this, it always had a very soothing feeling in a way.
Yeah, very much
Yep.
so. I definitely feel that. Like, oh man, the poker rap is iconic for a reason.
Yeah, but to be
Yeah.
continue.
But before that, we get the iconic to be continued, and basically it ends with the narrator claiming the journey of discovering continues, and it zooms in on a cloud that looks exactly like Dragonite, and of course you get the poker rap, which I mean is the poker rap. It's iconic.
I
Yep.
think the reason they made Dragonite have to be so rare is because in the games you're only ever going to encounter one other Pokemon, one other person who has it besides you, and that's Lance.
That is very true, huh?
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, I was gonna make that joke. Like Lance over here watching all this, being like, "Plebeians." Oh man.
Nice. But yeah, of course. Well, I'm sure that you listeners don't need to know this, but the Pokemon anime will continue for many years before doing something that a lot of people thought would never happen. It concluded. It actually ended in 2023, and now it is replaced with a new one, which, again, a lot of people, myself included, were convinced it was going to be like the anime equivalent of The Simpsons, where it would just keep going, and it would always be a perpetual thing. But
no, Ash has reached the apex of his own.
Hell yeah.
There's no reason for him to continue.
Exactly, and they had a really great ending. They gave Team Rocket a good ending, and they really wrapped it up in a nice way.
And I still haven't watched it. I should get around to that. At
Same.
some point before I
Haven't checked it out
start
either.
watching Hawaiians.
Indeed.
As
Yeah,
the person that has, it is
Actually, it wasn't the
superior.
Pokemon Revolution.
Yeah, that's how the anime was going to end, by the way. It originally was going to end during Kanto with all the Pokemon rebelling against humanity.
Which, completely spits on the message of the series.
And
Oh, hell yeah.
also would have probably freaked the hell out of so many little kids, myself included.
Like the
Oh, hell
whole
yeah.
message of Pokemon is symbiosis between human and Pokemon living in harmony.
Yeah,
Exactly,
like
yeah.
To end on a
What?
revolution just shits on everything.
I know, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, Matt, you were saying?
Yeah, as a guy that has watched the new series that's been released in the US so far, it's nowhere near as good as the original. I'm hoping that it's just because they're still trying to get their footing. It's the loss of
probably
Ash
still
and
is.
his crew isn't as bad. What's really bad is the loss of Team Rocket.
That makes sense.
True.
They were the comedic heart of the series, and just they brought so much chaotic energy and fun. And without them, it feels kind of bland.
Yeah, I can
Of
see
course, I
that.
know my favorite part of the anime is not going to be Miko, it's going to be Drop Ghost.
Yeah. Ouch.
I am
ouch.
literally the man with all 3 officially released Drop Ghost plushes.
Nice.
Yeah. I am the man with 3 Terrapagos planted. Oh, you got 4 right here. I am the man with 4
Yeah, all 3
Terrapagos.
officially
God,
released
good.
ones. If they release a 4th, I'm buying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
If for some gullies make a Stellar Form plush, I am buying it day one.
Yeah, we could
Nice.
definitely
But I
see
know a Stellar Form Terrapagos plush would be a structural nightmare.
that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the Pokemon anime has at least this period of it, the Gen 1, basically we'll call them, because Indigo League, again, as mentioned previously, doesn't consist of the entire first season in some areas, but the first basically Kanto era episodes, they really hold up. There was like really few flukes in there, but for the most
They
part,
got
it
better
holds up
organizing
really
things.
well.
They got better organizing things
Yeah.
starting from
Yeah.
Gen 2, where they just started using the game titles.
Yeah, as they should
Yep.
have, but still,
Because
this show
because
absolutely
the
holds
Gen
up.
2 anime is just called Pokemon Gold and Silver.
It's also when the writers had the most freedom what to do with the script and stuff.
Exactly. I mean, you had episodes that were parodies of, like, for example, the movie The Poseidon Adventure with the SS Anne. You had the episode where Sabrina turns her mother, basically Brock and Misty, into living dolls, which are very weird. And yeah, there was a time I feel like when they were free, when they could do basically whatever they wanted. And that went away later on, I feel, as the Pokemon Company basically had more control over the entire franchise, you know? They basically put a grasp on it.
Yeah.
And
Those were the days.
yep.
Mhm.
But now it is time for the question of the episode, which is going to be a very unique one. Which is, what is your favorite Pokemon from the anime? And it's going to be a really interesting one because we're not going by a game here, like the game designs. We're going strictly by anime. Now, I could be a little cheater and say, like, oh, I'm going to pick a Pikachu or Meowth or Mewtwo. Yeah, that's okay. But for my choice, it's really hard because, because Pikachu and Meowth are iconic for a reason. But I also really liked some of the other ones. Staryu is iconic with his hey-ya that they actually repeated in the games. Psyduck, Psyduck is an absolute legend for a reason. I mean, hilarious too.
Yes.
He's definitely in the top choice.
Oh, Misty Cow.
Confused boy. The confused boy, yep. We have Togepi that is adorable, and their relationship with Pikachu, especially in the Pikachu short films, are just so adorable.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
really great.
Well, it's also a good one.
That's
Oh, yeah.
another good choice. Yeah, but for my really final choice, I am going to have to pick kind of a unique one. I feel like one of my favorite Pokemons of all time is Pokemon. Excuse me, I meant to say Pokemon, singular plural. But my favorite Pokemon is probably Squirtle. I mean, number one, Squirtle is my favorite Gen 1 starter. Number two, I just love what they did with his personality, especially in the iconic episode Island of Giant Pokemon, where for the first and only time in this series, the Pokemon talk was actually subtitled.
Yeah.
And, we actually get to see Squirtle's behavior, where he's just this sarcastic little jerk, and it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I know
And of course-
I know they set that focus speak one other time, and that
Yeah.
was Sun and Moon.
I never saw that version of the show, so I wouldn't know. But basically, and of course, we can't forget.
Sun Moon's,
Sun-
you should. Sun Moon is ultra good.
Definitely will check it
Yeah.
out. But also, one thing with Squirtle that we cannot forget: sunglasses. I mean, come on. He
Yep.
is so
Those
fly with those.
sunglasses.
Yep. And like I say, I feel like out of the episode that introduces the starters, I feel like the Squirtle Squad might be the best one, even though the Charmander one is legitimately heartbreaking in a way. I feel like the Squirtle Squad is the best one because it's funny and there's legit tension in it too. And again, it really, really is a fun time. And Squirtle, again, is my favorite Gen 1 starter. He really was my first Pokemon I ever had when I played Red and Blue,
Nice.
even though I had no idea what to do with the game. But yeah, basically, that's why I'm going to pick Squirtle, because I know it's kind of cheating because it's saying, oh, with the games and that, but I feel like just the anime version of him alone is so, so good. And
Oh
of
man,
course,
imagine him as a Blastoise. Like that would have been.
we never got to see him as a Blastoise, believe it or not. The only one that evolved was a Charmander and the Charmeleon, and then of course Charizard. But I feel like Squirtle, what we got with him was really, really good. And the Orange Islands, I think he had a lot of fun moments there too. So that's gonna be my pick. Is gonna be Squirtle. So Angron,
Yeah.
what would you say would be your favorite Pokemon from the anime?
Oh boy, that. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to say Ash's Dragonite on this one. Like I love Dragonite.
She is like the second of Ash's team moms.
Oh hell, wait, who's the first?
Leavanny.
Nice,
That's fair. I mean, we also
Yeah,
got.
yeah, that's a great
Leavanny-
choice.
Leavanny's a dude, but Leavanny is also a team mom.
Oh gosh, that's like saying freaking Tanjiro from freaking Demon Souls is the team mom. Oh my gosh.
I mean, if he
You
has
mean
that
Demon Slayer?
personality, he is a team mom.
That is
That
fair.
is very,
but
very true.
yeah, I think the one that best exemplifies Team Mom, in my opinion, absolutely has to be Dragonite. Like,
Dragonite, and again,
like from the get-go, the dragon from its introduction as a Dragonair in the episode "A Test in Paradise," it was pretty obvious Ash was possibly going to get it. But not only did he get it, he evolved it by helping it learn to fly, do all that stuff, and just, good lordy, that felt earned. Like, so earned. And
There's
at
a lot of
Dragonite,
Pokemon where Ash just hasn't earned.
there
Yeah.
are a lot Ash hasn't earned, but there have been some that he absolutely has earned. Indeed. But,
Oh, sure, yeah.
oh, hell yeah. Not to mention, Dragonite did net him a pretty solid win against Iris, a longtime freaking heckler who treated him like a little kid, and yet here he is, like, stuck on this, baby! And Dragonite freaking goes nuts. And I love it. Yeah, she's strong, she's sweet, like, good lordy. What more do you want from freaking the reluctant dragon of the Pokemon universe? So I'm definitely gonna say Ash's Dragonite.
great choice, great choice. And again, we're definitely going to talk about more about Ash's Dragonite in length in a later podcast episode, so stay tuned for
Spoiler,
that. But,
she's gonna get a high score from me.
yeah, she definitely is. We'll see how
I already have
my.
my answer. Ready to go.
Nice.
Well, that'll be good. And yeah, let's see. So, Math, what would you say your favorite Pokemon from the anime would be?
I've mentioned this in a previous episode. Without a doubt, it is Bulbasaur.
Nice.
Nice.
The dude is presented as this kind of like Japan has this tendency of doing one-off or side characters as Yakuza bosses that are highly respected and seen as leaders of the community or things like that. That is how Bulbasaur, as the series goes on, is presented. Especially after Ash drops off all of his Gen 1 Pokemon. And whenever we see Bulbasaur, he is just the leader of all of the Pokemon.
He's a mediator. That's what he is.
Yep.
Like,
And
whenever
he's
someone gets into a fight, he's there to help calm the situation.
Yeah.
He's tough, he's stern, and he is just so dependable and such a hardcore
Mhm.
go-to.
Yeah, it's a real shame that a lot of people sleep on the Bulbasaur line. Venusaur
True.
especially, but yeah, absolutely, Bulbasaur is a pretty great pick
Definitely,
when it comes to that.
Like I say, my favorite is Squirtle, but I definitely got to give it up for Bulbasaur too, especially because, like you said, he has a lot of great focus episodes on him too. I think he has actually the most. Well, I mean, Charizard has the most, but I feel like Bulbasaur had a really good line of episodes too, especially the Hidden Valley one.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So, Stryker, what would you say your favorite Pokemon from the anime would be?
Well, if it were my favorite Pokemon, it would be obviously Nidoqueen. But since we're going for anime, that would be Lucario.
Oh, which Lucario though?
Masters of Lucario is so good.
The one from the movie?
From the movie, actually.
Yeah,
Oh, no, not
Nice.
Ashes. Damn it.
That's a great one.
I feel you, Eevee.
I barely watched it around that time, unfortunately, because
Aww.
I was
Shit,
growing
Masters
up.
of Lucario is so good.
I know.
That's a classic for a reason.
After
But Lucario is not my choice.
after Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, I started drifting off from anime, unfortunately.
Ouch.
That's all right.
Yeah. I came back like almost 10 years later to anime, and I found myself interested in shows like Pokemon again. But it was near the tail end of XYZ.
Mm.
It just felt a little boring in my opinion because I had moved on to more mature anime.
All
You're
good, all
never
good.
too mature for Pokemon, you plebeian.
Oh,
Sure.
no, don't worry. I understand. I have Indigo League right here on Blu-ray actually.
Excellent.
Nice, nice.
But yeah, like my pick is the Lucario from Lucario and the Mystery of Mew because like as a kid, I actually did cry at the end of that. At the end
Yeah,
of that
that's
movie.
fair. Oh
Yep.
man. That
But
takes me
yeah,
back.
no, that's a great choice right there. Especially again because that's a great movie that they come from. Mr. Mew and that, and I feel like it actually gave Lucario a lot of fans. I mean, granted, he was always popular,
Yeah.
but I feel like the movie is what really rocketed him to peak popularity.
Oh, that reminds me. The same voice actor for Goku also voiced Lucario, or was it freaking?
Nice,
Sean,
nice.
yeah, Sean.
Yeah, Sean
That makes too much
Shamichael.
sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sean Schmel,
Hmm.
yeah.
That definitely is a
Yeah.
amazing
First he
casting
did
right there,
freaking
too.
basically the Goku of Pokemon. Then he did the Goku of China in Monkey Kid as Sun Wukong.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that too. Real amazing stuff.
Yeah.
The original Goku, if you will.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
But yeah,
He will not give up his role as Goku. Like
I mean,
that's not a joke. Even in
I
other,
mean, you gotta
even
have
in
something to
other
tie it
shows.
in more plain.
I mean, literally, even in other shows, he will play Goku, even if it has nothing to do with Dragon Ball.
nice. But yeah, that right there is another reason why that's such a great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Great. So, Shark, what would you say would be your favorite Pokemon from the anime?
Well, my favorite Pokemon from the anime also happens to be my favorite Pokemon and my first Pokemon ever, and it's
Oh.
Ash's Trico.
Nice.
Nice.
Stryker!
Trico, it's
I love how
I mean,
all
well,
our
for
choices
sure.
are just starters.
Yeah.
Except Dragonite.
basically. But yeah, they have a number.
Yeah,
I like
except
the
Dragonite and
lizard,
Lucario.
the cool design, but I also like the personality they gave him, like this chill. Like he just wants to relax, but of course, if the situation's call it, of course he's gonna fight. And he has some funny reaction. Like once he evolves into a Grovel, there's an episode where May makes some awful Pokeblocks, and all the Pokemon are like dying and stuff. And then you see Grovyle like trying to be all cool, like I can eat this, and he bites it. That nope, neither.
Yeah, classic. And again, I think what made him such a good character is how serious he was played. Like up until then, you had like
He had a good
Bulbasaur
show,
was the
fucking
leader.
chat.
You had Chikorita, who was like
Yeah.
the clingy jealous type, and then you have Trico, who was like the no nonsense type of guy.
Yeah, and then he got his heart broken in freaking the
Yeah,
Battle
once he became
Frontier,
a-
and then he kind of sucked for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it's when he became a Sceptile.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that was not a great time for him.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, it was not.
Yeah.
But overall, he definitely was he definitely is a really good character then, because again, they always made sure to give the starters so much character. You really felt they were different from each other.
Oh hell
And that
yeah!
was throughout pretty much the entire show.
Yep.
So it worked out really, really good. So, Jordan, what would you say would be your favorite Pokemon from the anime?
I got two. One for personality is my favorite is Jolteon because of our names are like identical almost for J-O. But the second
Okay.
one would have to be Lugia because in the movie Pokemon 200,
2000.
I felt so bad how in the prophecy they said that the legend protector would fail and the world would turn to ash. You do see how Lugia is trying so hard to stop Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos from destroying each other and the world, and it's trying so hard to stop all three of them that it failed because it couldn't stop all three of them. And you just see it fail, saying, I've lost. And he just falls completely in the ice cold water hard.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Wait, what was the first one?
The first one would be Jolteon because again,
Jolteon.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
the Eevee evolution. Like every girl or guy has their favorite evolution of Eevee, and mine's Jolteon, even though it's the one Pokemon that doesn't have a tail in it. But the way that the deck says that when it gets threatened or senses danger, the fur on its body would literally spike up, and all the electricity in its body, and it would literally charge its thunder attacks at its opponent. And it's kind of like mostly underrated because, yeah, doesn't have a tail, and most people don't think, oh, Jolteon's not that good. Depending on the personality of how you train this thing, it will literally your best bud, and it's just so freaking cute to have a Jolteon on your side.
That's fair.
True. Very, very true.
I actually really do like Jolteon. Like that's my favorite. That's actually my favorite evolution.
See?
Nice.
Good choice.
So yeah,
good
mine's
choice.
are again Lugia because of two Pokemon, the second movie, and personality because of Jolteon are my only favorites. I like the Pen Keldeo, but that's it. I have too many.
Nice.
Oh, I feel that.
A lot of good stuff.
Really, really good choice right here. So, Eevee, what would you say would be your favorite Pokemon from the anime?
Chimchar.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh.
Ash is Chimchar.
that's fair. I mean,
any
he
reason?
goes through this.
Just the entire arc it goes through is amazing.
Yeah. Like, it's basically Ash's Charmander, but if Chimchar didn't grow up to fucking despise Ash just for not having enough gym badges. Or at the very least,
Yeah,
not getting to
and-
officially.
Yeah, the issue with Chimchar was definitely getting Blaze under control, which it eventually managed to do, and holy shit, it was a beast.
Also, hi,
I feel
Goku.
bad for Chimchar. Like during the time, its original trainer was Paul. He was a straight up
Yeah,
dick.
Paul was a
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
asshole, and
He was
now,
a straight up
now
asshat.
Definitely,
Yeah, and I can
definitely.
see why over the times that Chimchar, when evolved into Infernape and Inferno is because that rage that Paul gave it to him, that's what made it go super infernal when it evolved in Infernape. The same way with Charmander. It was abused by its trainer, and Ash did everything he can to train his Pokemon the best way. And sure, yeah, they were poorly trained, as Mewtwo pointed out in the movie,
Oh,
but it
gosh.
wasn't Ash's fault. It was the memories. I mean, the personalities of a Pokemon when they evolve into their other form, their personalities change, and some memories kind of stayed with them. Again, Charmander got abandoned when he was on a rock waiting for his trainer. Tepig got abandoned because it was weak. Chimchar, same thing too, because Paul abused it to make it stronger. There are so
and
many that
Gengar got
irritate me like
abandoned
that.
because his trainer thought he was bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
True.
again, that's why I hate when trainers do that to Pokemon. It just irritates me, and I'm like, "Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? They're not gonna forget what you
the
did
game
to them."
and the anime makes a big point to tell you like, hey, these people are assholes, and this is not how you treat Pokemon.
Oh hell
And
yeah!
It's a
it
really
reflects
good,
in
way
real
to do
life. Like
things.
people would buy pets and use them for dumb
And I
things.
love how they would date Paul, and Paul might be a gym leader now because of the anime.
I hope he
Very
doesn't.
true.
Like
I hope he
Paul,
does not.
like Paul was approached with a gym leader position in Journeys.
Dude,
Well
gee.
then,
Nice.
Like,
Yeah,
like
that right
Journeys
there-
went out of the way to show that Paul is not the same guy. He knows, like, he has the same sort of redemption as Silva did.
dang.
He's really mellowed out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah,
see that.
and now he's a possible candidate for a gym leader. And
Well, dang.
Wow.
Yeah, they
So-
really.
Yep.
Anyways, Isaor, your
So-
favorite Pokemon from the anime.
Yep.
That is going to be a very tough question for me because I haven't really watched like the full anime, but I have at least watched one full movie and two other ones that I have either little to no memory, but I definitely know them. So
Okay.
that, and I'm going by Pokemon that appeared during the movie. That means anyone else who's been around, like Pikachu and all that. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna pack you in a box, throw you into the closet, never to be loved again.
Okay.
Not really. Markiplier quote, people.
Oh
Okay.
gosh.
So,
But yeah,
what's your pick?
let me go through like my process because I gotta explain this before I really pick my pick because it helps me remember.
All good.
That's
Go
fair.
ahead. Go ahead.
I
Take your
think
time.
I do not know which one I saw first. I only saw a preview of it one time while I was a child, like half of it, because I did not know this. I did not realize there was two Pokemon Black and White movies.
Oh yeah,
I
White
had
and
no idea.
Reshiram and Black and Zekrom. Both had Victini. And both had Ash nearly die from suffocation in space.
Cursed.
I mean, when doesn't Ash die in a movie? Let's be honest.
Hmm.
But,
Sorry, what?
When doesn't Ash almost die in a movie?
Speaking of
Fair.
that, I think one of those movies I definitely remember a little bit by scene, and I think I know which one it is, but I do not know. I do not remember the titles. All I know is that, but yeah, I barely saw the movie. I only seen a few scenes, but I think I might have had Reshiram more than Zekrom. So
Yeah, it was White Reshiram.
all right, so yeah.
Pokemon the movie White.
Yeah. That one. I remember Reshiram was my absolute favorite for a while once I discovered it was a thing. Like, hell, he was like one of the very first Pokemon I got in a card, like, by random chance when I discovered him. Like, I haven't bought Pokemon cards in ages during the time.
Nice.
But then I saw that and I was inspired and I decided to get the cards and somehow got Reshiram. But out of the Black and Whites, Reshiram's my favorite, but not my definite favorite for the whole anime because, again, I'm still going to process. So, yeah. I don't know which
Okay,
movie it
okay.
was, but yeah, Reshiram definitely holds a place in my heart. Sorry, Zekrom.
Interesting.
But, yeah. The next one, this is the movie I definitely sat down and watched. This one was Kyurem versus the Swords of Justice.
That was a pretty fun movie.
Yeah, I definitely remember it because I remember in the movie, Keldeo decided, "Oh, I'm gonna take on this big motherfucker."
Oh shit, I'm out of my league. And then he meets Ash, and Ash is like, yeah, you could totally take this fucker on. He's like, yeah, and then, wait, I kind of fucked up a little. And Ash is like, nah, that's okay. Here, let me help you. Like, just good lord.
Meanwhile, the Swords of Justice, while frozen, bitch, you fucking got us frozen.
Yeah.
I definitely remember that. Swords of Justice were pretty cool too, and
Yeah,
I definitely remember the blue one, which I do not remember their name, but
Alien.
Alien?
Yeah,
Or-
probably.
yep.
I remember him. He was my favorite out of the bunch, except for Keldeo. Keldeo's my favorite Sword of Justice. The
Nice.
second one The second one, the green sort of justice, which again,
Right.
Verizon. She looks like a
Verizon.
goddamn. She looks like she's bottomless, which is awesome.
Verizon.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember these guys because I remember trying to catch them in Pokemon Omega movie. And I definitely remember it because of that freaking futuristic version, which both Angron and I tried catching in Pokemon.
Oh yeah, Iron Leaves. Oh man, that was an adventure.
That was
Yeah.
a bitch.
So,
Yeah.
No, moral of the story, if any of you happen to have that raid pop up during Scarlet Violet, be freaking ready for hell on earth.
Oh hell yeah.
Definitely.
I got
definitely.
both for Scarlet and for Violet. Walking Wake is better than Iron Leaves, but good lordy, was it a grind each time.
The minute I get Scarlet, I'm immediately gonna have PTSD from it. Like, oh no, here we go again. But
Yeah.
that one's like a tough one because I remember I felt funny about Kyurem's black and white forms, but Kyurem himself is very unique because he can just go like, oh, I suddenly have the power of Reshiram or Kyurem.
Yeah, suck it, DNA splicers. Also, he kind of reminds me of Avazandum a bit.
Kind of does.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was fascinated by this character, and I was trying to get the cards for him, but I don't know if I ultimately did or not. But yeah, it was
Probably did. Who knows?
Yeah, they were such interesting characters, but it's hard to pick between Keldeo or Kyurem because those were definitely the highlights for me. I remember I geeked out a lot when Keldeo finally reached his like max power form.
Yeah, his resolute form.
Yeah, I can definitely see why.
I kind of like Kyurem a bit more because now that you made me think about it, Kyurem, despite being an overall relenting force and the one that's basically the foil to freaking the freaking Keldeo and by default the freaking villain, he's got a wisdom to him, and he's fierce like Avazandum, but clever like Smaug, in a sense. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, definitely makes sense there.
The last movie, and I think this was my absolute favorite Pokemon in the animes, like ever till you know. I think this one's probably my favorite. Unless I would have probably gave that title to Groudon if I watched his movie. Well, unfortunately,
Groudon didn't get a movie.
Really?
What?
Yeah,
So,
they
what
didn't.
Yeah, that was Meta Groudon. That's not the real Groudon.
Yeah, sorry.
all right. Well, good to know.
Yeah, so you're not missing anything by watching.
Yeah,
by not
I was
watching
on like
watching.
what made me think that is on the Pokemon website they had like an anime showing that, so that's where I got confused.
Yeah, but that's Meta
True,
Groudon. That's
true.
not actually Groudon.
Yeah.
So what is your
This
choice
one-
then?
Like I said, it has to be Giratina, and I do not know if this is the correct movie or not because I remember seeing Giratina.
Great
and
choice.
it
That is
was-
a great choice.
It's like a freaking 6-legged dark dragon of just like I'm looking at like a photo right
that's what it is.
now of it, and I think it's void form. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's its origin form, and good.
Yeah. 6 legs
Hang on.
is altered. The noodle is origin.
Yeah, this I'm seeing
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I just sent a photo. I'm pretty sure that's the void form I'm looking at right there. But
Yeah, it's its origin form, and good fucking lord, you had to remind me. Giratina's awesome. Like, even
They
as a
really
freaking
are.
ruler of the nether, of the reverse freaking antimatter world, it's still pretty dorky and absolutely is buddy-buddy with Ash. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
fighting and sees Ash is like, hey, how's it going? Awesome.
Yes,
I-
the fucking Satan of Pokemon, the Pokemon universe, is a derp.
True.
Yeah,
pretty-
no.
I'm fairly certain I have the card for this guy. But yeah, this guy was my absolute favorite for a while until Reshiram popped up and everything. And I think he's still my favorite for the movies because
He absolutely
and-
should be your favorite. He should be your pick because, good lord, Giratina in the games are awesome. Anime is a whole other ballpark, and I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if I remember
Oh,
right, he
man.
pops up- if I remember right, he makes a return in Arceus, which I have not played.
Yes.
He made the Return of the Arceus movie. It's the same Giratina.
Oh
I
yeah.
see.
Great,
But,
great
yeah.
choices, all of them.
Because all the Sinnoh movies were connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct me
Yep.
if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it
but
was
I
one. Yeah, the order is Rise of Darkrai, the Giratina movie, and then the Arceus movie.
Yeah, now correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the Giratina movie the one where the world was starting to get like slowly consumed by like this? I'll say
That's
No,
dark-
Rise of
that was the
Darkrai.
I've
that was
never
the
seen.
Darkrai movie.
I've never
Okay, so-
seen the Arceus movie, so
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
But
so
no,
it is a different
that's
movie.
a
I was
great,
about
great
to
choice
say.
right there.
Mm,
Yeah, okay.
That's
So,
fair.
yeah.
no, that's a great choice. Well, now it is time for the.
Oh, did Jordan give her a reply? Oh wait, no, she did.
Yeah,
Never
yeah,
mind.
she did. She told me
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And,
Sorry.
she did, yeah. So now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale. We rank the Dragoness from 1 to 10. Now that's going to be very interesting because this is not the first time nor the last time we're going to rank Pokemon. In this case, Dragonite. But this one in particular, I don't know because we don't see its full form, but we're not meant to see its full form. So it does what it was meant to in a pretty right way. You know, it's meant to look mysterious. It's meant to look like a shadow thing. It doesn't have character, but let's say it this way: it's like a kaiju, but it really does an adaptation of the Bradbury story, The Foghorn, right? In that how it's mysteriousness. So that's another factor for it. I'm gonna have to give it, and I'm very surprised I'm gonna do this. I'm actually gonna give it a 7 out of 10 to the Giant Dragonite because I feel that Dragonite's design still comes through, even though it's more of a silhouette of her compared to her
Yep.
ordinary design. And again, it's not so much character as it is intent. And for this, I feel like it really does work out for the best. So I'm gonna have to give her a 7 out of 10 for that reason. Angron, what would you have to give her?
Kinda also gonna give her a 7 out of 10. She doesn't do much in this show, which I get the intent, but like actions kind of speak louder than words. You know, like if you do, it's better if you do something instead of like saying, "Oh no, she's destroying that building." Oh wait, she's stuffing it up her. Oh God, can we show that?
Okay, yeah, we get it. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting episode, and it absolutely had a lot of high points. Dragonite especially so, but not as much as what we would get in later episodes. So it's for that reason I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna rank it as high as you, but no higher in my opinion.
Yeah. Like I say, that's a good point there. So 7 out of 10 is definitely going. Stryker, what do you have to give the Giant Dragonite from this episode?
I gotta admit, when I was a kid, I actually really liked Dragonite.
Nice.
Nice.
And like that was like my first Pokemon crush actually when I was
Oh,
growing
nice.
up. But yeah, like I'm gonna have to give this Dragonite a 9 out of 10 actually.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Wonder if Ash's Dragonite will get the same ranking.
Oh, I know
Probably
exactly.
going to get
She's gonna get a
higher.
higher ranking.
Oh hell
than me,
yeah,
probably.
absolutely.
Too. Probably get a higher ranking from me too.
I got you know what? Thinking about it, 8 out of 10.
all good, all good. Sorry.
Nice.
Fair.
Change it. I'll change it.
Make it more fair, because like since you mentioned that, it's like
Yeah,
oh
true,
well,
true.
then,
Like I said, this
I
was
might
like the
change my mind.
introduction to Dragonite. It wasn't like the full-fledged version we'd get of her later on, but still a really good score.
Absolutely.
So, Math, what would you give the Giant Dragonite?
I had to think about this for a long time
Oh,
because
dear.
the issue with this one is we don't actually see the character. It's
know,
just
right?
a silhouette. And I understand why, because they're trying to treat it like, oh, it's this mysterious thing. They're using Dragonite as the base body. They're acting as if it's something completely different. So I feel using future knowledge of Dragonites kind of cheats for referencing this as if it was just a regular Dragonite. And
Yeah.
the personality that is given to this character is all just done through Bill. We don't actually see that in the character itself. It's just giant monster silhouette. So if this was a Dragonite that we actually fully saw, and this did have the personality that Bill gave it, this would have easily been a 7 or 8. And that's what I was debating for the longest time was, do I treat it like that, or do I treat it like what we're actually given? And I finally landed on, okay, I have to be honest. I have to give this a score based on what we actually see. And the problem is, we don't see anything. There is no personality. We only see a silhouette. So because of that, because there's literally nothing here, I ultimately decided on a 1.
Ooh, wow.
It's the lowest I can give it because there's still a silhouette. If we literally just heard Bill talk, oh hey, there's this Pokemon, and we don't even see anything, then it'd be a 0. But yeah, it's just a silhouette, no personality, no nothing.
I can see that, but wow, 1 is, in my opinion, a little harsh. But no, I understand where you're coming from. So
oh yeah, I fully understand it's harsh. That's why I grappled with this for as long as I did, because this is such a weird situation.
Yeah, definitely it's a strange one. But okay, so Shark, what would you give the giant Dragonite from this episode?
Yeah, this one was kind of tricky too, because as Matt said, the character itself is not much. They show up, they get shot with rockets, they break their lighthouse, and they leave. So as a character, it is actually quite weak, even if it's a cool Pokemon design. However, I also see them like an idea of the world, like something that helps you with the world building, and it has this mystery. So as a character alone, yeah, they're kind of weak, but as a concept, it's actually quite interesting what they have to give. So I kind of mix it up on this, honestly. I'm going to go with the middle ground and give them a 5 out of 10, honestly.
Okay.
That's good score. That's good even grounding with it. So definitely can see where you're coming from with it. So Eevee, what would you have to say? What would you give for the giant Dragonite?
I guess 6.
6. Any particular reason or?
Well, yeah, we didn't see much of her.
That's fair.
Sorry, it's all good. So, Jordan, what would you give the giant Dragonite in this episode?
I kind of agree that giving her 7 out of 10, because again, we see the outlet and people are like, "Oh my god, what is this?" You can clearly see it's a giant Dragonite. There's not a lot, yeah, but you kind of feel bad that Bill's been waiting for this thing for so long, and he sees it finally, and it gets spooked off because again, 2 morons from Team Rocket shooting with
3 morons. Yeah, 2. I mean, or technically 2 morons and their pet, but yeah.
But they're just shooting at it, thinking, we're attacking.
No, it's more 2 morons and the cats that just follow them around.
True.
Remember, Meowth isn't owned by either of them.
That's fair.
Meowth is channelless.
So the point is that I give it where you're going with the 7 out of 5, or where would the
10,
whole line? Yeah, I'm going for that because again, you just feel like there's not a whole lot. They could have done more, but it's something obvious. I'm just giving her a 7.
Definitely a good score right there. So, and last but not least is our special guest of the episode. What would you give the giant Dragonite from this episode?
Well, considering I haven't watched the episode, but looking at the image here, because I had no idea what this Dragonite actually looked like till now.
Fair enough, yeah.
But yeah, I'm probably gonna give it middle ground with 5 because like the Shadowlette. If I was a kid, then yeah, it would definitely spark interest and everything. But then later on, once I figure out what it actually is and all that, it would lead to a bunch of disappointment. But yeah, I mean, it's enough to spark quite the interest, like how this thing gets so big and everything. Like it's interesting, but not enough for me to be really compelled on the character that much.
That's fair.
Yep, that's good. So that's going to be it for this episode. If you have any questions or if you want to send us your rendition of the Team Rocket motto, you can email us at fiorydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fiorydiscourse. And like and subscribe our YouTube playlist at youtube.com/Ludmillanon. Next week, we'll be looking at the 1984 Dungeons and Dragons episode, The Dragon's Graveyard.
Oh boy.
Going to be really interesting talking about that show, especially considering that it's an older one and based on such an iconic fantasy property like that. It's going to be
Yep.
very interesting. Spoiler alert, I never really got into D&D, so it's going to be very interesting for me to watch this as a
did.
first timer.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
But, yep, that's going to be it for this week. And until next time, thank you guys so much for watching and take care.
And
Bye.
later.
Adios. See you next week.